At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange. If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park.
There's something nice about those round numbers that feel good to reach. Today marks a special one for our organizers who have been plugging away at this virtual series for 4 impressive years. Today, they hit the double digits as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Club Class live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Cameron Aubernon is on social media, and Ryan Bauer is producing while using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But before we get to the racing, Series 10 is brought to you by the Porsche Exchange, which has been a family owned and operated for 40 years. Located on the North Shore of Chicago, the Porsche Exchange has grown to be the largest volume Porsche dealer in the entire Midwest. Along the way, they've won the Porsche Premier Dealership Award for many years in a row and has been chosen to be one of the few Porsche exclusive manufacturer dealerships in the entire country. Find out more at 4Porsche.com or follow them at Porsche Exchange on Instagram. Also, Six Sigma Racing is proud to announce the Season 10 Clean Driver Award. One driver in each PCA Sim Racing class will win a Six Sigma Sim Racing $250 merchandise gift certificate. This goes to whoever earns the fewest incident points and license penalty points from their 6 best races this season. For more information, head to sixsigmasimracing.com. That's the number 6, sigmasimracing.com. We're going to kick things off at a classic here, DJ, with a track that offers plenty of opportunities to try and make passes, but still plenty of danger. I think this is a good spot to begin.
Joe, when you talk about racetracks in North America, there is no better one than Road America, clocking in just over 4 miles. It is a thrill ride from turn 1 all the way down around to turn 14. Look for the major overtaking opportunities going to be into turn 5 or down into turn 12. That's Canada Corner, as we'll call it over the course of the race. But really and truly, as you said, there are plenty of opportunities to send a dive on another car into 1, into 3, 6. I've seen moves down into 7 and 8. All over this track, but as you said, very, very difficult. There's a lot of elevation change around here that makes it very difficult to get your braking zones right, but if you get it right, oh, it is a treat to drive.
It really is, and here we'll see just the last couple seconds of qualifying, which has been extremely tight. Terrence Tong, who you see here, sits in 9th place. That's little over 0.3 of a second behind our pole sitter. And you have to go all the way down past 30th position to get more than a second away from pole position. Considering it's 2+ minutes for a lap, this is astonishingly close.
Yeah, we're used to seeing some pretty big gaps among drivers when you talk about running at Road America because this is such a long circuit, but I am absolutely floored at how close this field is. I really and truly think it is going to set up here for a really close, really fantastic race.
Checkered flag comes out, so everybody on their hot lap has to finish now. We'll see if we can get any more changes. I've been seeing fewer and fewer greens show up on my timing and scoring as we continue to watch Tong come around the last corner. He's actually given a big toe to Mike Matson, but it doesn't look like it's helping him as he's about 1.5 seconds off his best time. Tong also looking like he's not doing a quick one here, unfortunately. if my timing is telling the truth. And indeed, he is off the pace. So that's it for him. He'll still start within that 9th spot.
Yeah, here's Robbie Prescott, currently in 3rd place. I think Robbie's laps are done and dusted here at this point, but he only finds himself about a 10th and a half off of Chris Cook, who is your leader. We're going to jump back here to Chad Dick. That's going to be him in 4th place in the number 930. He's going to cross over the line right now.
Doesn't go quicker than his 2:04.2, unfortunately, so he'll stay put. Does look like Michael McKinney might be on a fast one here. He's down in 20th place as we're going to check out Robert Cottle in the number 89 coming off the final turn. This is close as well. I'm showing him just hovering around his quickest lap, which currently sits at a 2:04.8. He set that last time by. Is this going to be enough? He'll cross the timing line. No, he is about a 10th off.
All right, so he's going to stay back down in 24th place, the Intermountain Region driver there. Here's Jake Steinbrink, driver who could use some improvement here. He's got about a second to make up to the leader, but he could certainly use a little bit more oomph at this point. He's only 33 thousandths of a second off of Julian Velez up ahead of him. So if he's able to keep things together here, maybe can just eke out a couple of good sectors. Here he comes to the line.
Yeah, he's less than a 10th of a second away from about 5 cars. He does improve. It's a 2:05.8, 2:05 flat. And indeed, just as I said, he jumps up what looks like 6 positions just from that tiny little improvement. So it was worth it in the end.
Yeah, it certainly was. Here's another driver who's got a potential to be able to jump up here, Mario Gonzalez. He's going to cross over with a 2:04. Doesn't look like that's going to be an improvement there, and he will stay back down in 13th.
Got a lot of cars to go through, so it's time to get to the grid. And Chris Cook has taken the pole position. Robert Lacroix will start on his outside as Robbie Prescott will begin in P3. It's Chad Dick in the 4th position, followed by Joe Sinclair in P5. Kerry Brooks will start 6th, and Ben Leung in the 7th position. Peter Sigourney, P8 for him, will be followed by Terrence Tong, as we mentioned, in 9th. Top 10 going to be rounded out by Robert Walton.
In 11th place, it's going to be Brett Holmes, followed by David Glenn. Then it's Mario Gonzalez and Joachim Baker in 14th. 15th will be Tamer Elbaga, followed by Scott Kessel, Lyle Eddy, and Sean Murphy making up the row behind them. In 19th, it's Sebastiano Ballestieri, and then Michael McKinney rounds out your top 20.
We'll scroll through the rest here with the drivers lining up. It is a rolling start in this one. Now, this is going to be a unique series for sure, because not only will they be swapping back and forth between the rolling and standing starts like we saw in Series 9, but they're also going to be switching cars back and forth in Series 10 this time. So, yes, they are in the GT3R, which is a GT3 class car here, the 911. But it's going to change up next time. I believe they're in the Cayman when we head off to the next track. But we'll have 3 more races in these next 2 weeks before we get to that. So keep your eyes peeled. There'll be plenty of action. And the driver's just going to have a nice short pace lap before they get going here today. It's plenty cool as well with 74 Fahrenheit on the circuit, but they're going to have to try and keep it on the track. With an hour race, they only have 17 incidents before they're sent down pit lane with a penalty.
Well, and as we talked about here, Joe, it's very easy to pick up a couple of those off tracks, running a little bit wide, coming down through turn 3, wide down through turn 1, missing the braking zone down into 5, even clipping the grass coming in and out of the kink. It's very, very easy to pick up an off track, and so drivers are going to have to be very careful, and I think the drivers with the fewest off tracks are going to be the one that we see up towards the pointy end of the grid.
You talked about missing the braking down into turn 5. We've seen real racing series come here in the real world and still see professionals trip over each other down to that corner on the first lap. And now these guys are actually very good. And one thing I will commend the PCA on is that they do a great job trying to drill into the head of everybody, get through that first lap, and don't take any unnecessary risks. But we got 54 drivers that are hopefully going to be at least getting far enough to try and dive down into that turn. So it's going to be a little chaotic, I imagine.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of chaos here, I think, to say the absolute least, Joe. Going to be very, very interesting to see how these drivers are going to be able to compose themselves, how they're going to be able to handle everything. I think we should be okay, but as you said, you and I have seen in the real world where drivers can struggle around this racetrack. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how this is going to play itself out.
Cross your fingers. Everybody's got their head screwed on tight here because it's going to be messy on this first lap as everybody tries to sort themselves out. The question is how much, and will we be able to get away with most everybody getting around for the first time here. Waiting for the green flag, and it is now out as Chris Cook is on the loud pedal, but Lacroix doesn't seem to go anywhere. No, excuse me, it's Lacroix that goes, and Cook is the one that's left behind. He's 3 wide now for what is second place behind Lacroix. Looks like Chad Dick's going to be able to dive in front and take that spot away. Backing out down on the inside, Robbie Prescott probably had a better shot, but decided it's not worth the risk here. Everybody's nice and smooth through turn 1 so far. That's the good news.
Yeah, that's the good news. Bad news, though, for Robbie Prescott. It looked like he was going to be challenging for the lead of the race off the drop of the green flag, but discretion proving the better part of valor for the driver, the number 1. He's going to pull back a little bit. Seeing a little bit of dust kicked up there in the background, but for the most part, Joe, everybody keeping it clean and green and nice and together here.
That was Balistrieri that we saw going off out of turn 3. Not sure if he had any help, but it looked like he went as far as the wall, unfortunately, as they all break down into turn 5. And I love what I'm seeing. There's a lot of very patient drivers that aren't trying to throw away their race here. Despite some 3 wide into there, it looks like they're going to make it through that one. So great job from all involved as Lacroix leads. Dick is now in second and Cook is in third.
Yeah, and it just looked like off the start, I wonder if Chris Cook was maybe in the wrong gear. Something just happened. He didn't look like he got the jump at all. Lacroix was able to absolutely pounce on him and be able to move his way up forward. So we'll have to see if there's more speed to be had out of that number 47. But here comes the kink, Joe. This is where things could get real sketchy.
Oh, it's so narrow out of here. If a driver has a slip up with 54 cars, well, not quite, because we are missing a few down in pit lane, it looks like. You could have a big wreck here as everybody tries to stay out of trouble. So far, so good. I'm not seeing anybody reach the grass out there. As you can see, the leaders already through Canada Corner. That's just how many cars are here. It's 1 lap in, and with them getting mostly single file, they're so spread out that they're about a quarter of the way around the circuit.
Yeah, we're going to have some very serious problems, I think, when it comes to lap traffic and dealing with that. And I think for Lacroix here, that may be part of the reason we are seeing such a giddy up here for him to move on up forward. He's already got a 1.1 second gap over Chad Dick here at this point, and he is going to be trying to pull away as much as possible to just build himself a little bit of a buffer so he's not going to have to worry about that when lap traffic does come up.
Yeah, and right now he's got Chad Dick as his best friend, honestly, because Chris Cook has not been able to get by. You can see Chris in the bright blue machine following the gray and orange of Chad Dick. If he could get a good run out of 3, he could try it, but that doesn't look good enough to me. They've also still got Kerry Brooks back and forth holding on.
Yeah, he's going to hold on to there at that point. There is a little bit of a gap between Brooks and Prescott right now. Prescott having some internet connection issues there. He's been blinking on and off, so he's going to have to try to gain that back up underneath him here at this point. But certainly more concern, I think, here, if you are Robbie Prescott, is just the fact that he's losing all that ground.
That was Peter Sigourney we were riding on board with, who went pretty wide down through turn 5. Thankfully didn't hit anybody or anything. He carries on in 7th place. However, that will lose him touch with Prescott in front of him. Or no, Joe Sinclair actually is the one in front of him. But now Sinclair goes deep down into the hurry downs, manages to make it off the corner without flying into the gravel, thankfully. So everybody carries on for the time being. I see 3 cars in pit lane: Tamer Albaga, Sean Murphy, and John Montgomery. So we have had some issues here at the start, but otherwise it looks like most everybody's back out on track.
Yeah, I think everybody's here doing a pretty good job. They know this is a long race, an hour-long race here. They've got to keep it together. A little bit of side-by-side going down into Canada Corner. That's for about 9th place position. But the rest of the field here just keeping up behind one another.
In fact, Albaga was just given a black flag. A 30-second stop and hold as well. Whew, that's a steep one there. So they did not like whatever he did early on in the race. as that's Matthew Yokel, unfortunately looping it around, judging by the tire tracks, out of Canada corner.
Yeah, not sure if he had help there on that or not, but one way or the other here, we've got a nice little battle. This is Chad Dick trying to hold off Chris Cook here at this moment. Cook having a little bit of a look down to the outside, not going to play itself out. It's pretty hard to get a move down into turn one. It's much more of a brush braking corner than a heavy braking corner, and really and truly, this is the area where Cook's going to want to set himself up. He's going to want to get a good run here out of 3, come down through the moraine, sweep, and try to be later on the binders. There's one problem is that he's not really pulling in on the back of Chad as much as he'd like to. And now Kerry Brooks starting to look like he could be threatening there on the number 77.
Yeah, this is a fixed setup series, so I think that's going to make it difficult to have any sort of advantage down the long straights as much as maybe they're used to. But right now, Chad Dick still holding off everybody behind and retaining that second position. He started back in 4th, so that's a nice bit of gain here for him at the beginning of the race. Bad news for everybody else is that Lacroix is running away. There you can see the few cars that ran into trouble early in the race that had to stop in and take what is a spare car that is waiting for them if they get damaged during today.
Yeah, but the problem is that you really don't want to have to take that spare car unless it's during your normal pit stop cycle. Remember, the cars here out on track on a 70% fuel, which means that they're probably going to have to come in at about the latest, Joe, I think at about 40 to 45 minutes into this race. My guess is we're going to see the majority of the field probably just cut this thing directly in half and come in at the 30-minute mark.
It's Trip Starkey being chased by Brandon Harrison coming down into the braking of Canada corner now. Got another penalty for Patrick Adamczyk. It looks like a 40-second stop and hold. They're not messing around in the steward's room today. So keep it clean, keep it on the track, and don't bother trying to make contact with your competitors today. Let's see what happens here up the front stretch. It's going to be the longest straight on the track. Joachim Baker just in front of them is hot on the heels of Robert Walton.
Yes, he is. He's going to be getting a nice little helping of that toe here. Baker going to be trying to pull in a little bit more, but again, not the easiest to get the pass done down into turn 1. He's going to have to wait here a little bit. The one thing that he's going to have working against him is that Walton is also going to be getting the toe here off of Terrence Tong up in 10th place, and that's going to mitigate any of that draft effect that Baker's going to be feeling.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few of these trains start to form over the course of the race, which could mean we may see a little bit more variety in terms of fuel strategy out there whenever drivers elect to come in to take their pit stop, because if you're stuck, that's the best way to try and jump out and see if you can get a position. Nobody jumping out here in turn 5. They all stay in line. They're getting some friends. They've got Mario Gonzalez back there and Scott Kessel. Already it's grown to 5.
Yeah, they're starting to get a big field here at this point, starting to play together. Here we ride on board with the caboose right now. This is Mario Gonzalez, and as you said, Joe, Scott Kessel only about 0.7 of a second behind him, so I think we can call Kessel actually the real caboose of this train. But Gonzalez here is just going to have to hold in tow. There you can see out the back him as he wants to go, but working their way around right now through the carousel. You got to find a couple of alternate lines through there. You really don't want to be able to run a little bit too hard through there, as you can get some pretty hefty aero wash.
That was side by side between Ben Leung and Peter Sigourney coming down into the kink. That slowed down Peter, and Brett Holmes snatches it right up by outbraking him into Canada corner. And who is this off? Scott Kessel. We were just watching him. What'd he do?
That's a bit of a strange incident. If there wasn't help involved, it may have been an error coming down through the kink. That could be about the only thing I can think of. Is here we check out the replay. Ran it wide on the kink and just tried to catch it.
Thankfully, there's nobody behind him, because, again, that can be just a massive wreck if you wind up spinning and hitting the wall in front of a field of cars. That does send him down to 22nd, and that was a pretty big hit into the wall, so I wouldn't be shocked if he needed to make a bit of an early visit into pit lane to try and take some repairs. Meanwhile, back up towards the front a little bit farther here, we've got the battle for 11th position. Robert Walton ahead of Joachim Baker and Mario Gonzalez. Excellent exit here for Gonzalez. He's got a good shot.
He's got a very good shot. He's just going to have to be later on the binders coming down into turn 5. He's very, very close here. It's down under 0.2 of a second. But again, that draft just helping Robert Walton out and helping to pull him around and trying to see what he's able to do. They're not going to get a pass to play.
Oh, but he gets a much better exit. He'll look down to the inside of turn 6. He takes the apex away. Move Gonzalez into 12th as Baker gives way to him. We had another penalty for Chip Witt now. 20-second stop and hold for him. And now we've had a problem for Trip Starkey into turn 5.
Oh no, Tripp having a little bit of a rough run here early on. I wonder if that's just a simple matter about breaking himself. He's going to be off doing some dirt tracking there. I wonder if there's some damage on that car.
2 offs and 2 corners. It might be. I did look, and he didn't touch anybody into turn 5. So not sure exactly what's going on. Chris Cook, in the meantime, still in P3, but also still stuck behind Chad Dick. But credit to Chad in that 930 machine. He's only about 1.5 seconds behind Lacroix. He's not let him run away, even though he got that gap early. It's basically been put on hold since then.
Yeah, it really kind of has. He's been able to hold it out here at this point, and I've got to say, Chad's putting on some good, impressive runs here. He's not letting it get too far out ahead of him. Now, he's not going to be able to use the draft here at that point, and that's going to hurt Chad for multiple reasons. One, it's not going to be as easy to hold up behind him, and 2, he's not going to be able to do any fuel saving.
Another penalty. Aaron Nations now with a 20-second stop and hold. A big field, I guess, means a busy steward's room, unfortunately, today. Meanwhile, following Cook down into turn 3. Ooh, this is a very good exit. This is the best one we've seen all race out of turn 3. And what are we going to get out of Chad Dick? Will he go defensive? Yes, indeed. He holds the inside as the bright blue number 47 tries to see if they outbreak him the long way around down into the left-hander. Nope, not going to be able to do it there.
Not going to be able to do it there. Is he going to have a little bit of a fight here up the hill? We ride on board with Corey Brooks coming up into turn 6. Such a difficult corner here to get right. Everybody's got it together, though. Looks like a little bit of a wide run for Chris Cook, but they're going to hold it on out here, and the battle will continue on as they go down through the hurry downs.
And the braking of turn 8, nobody close enough this time. They're starting to get, somebody actually gaining, but maybe too much. Joe Sinclair behind them just overshot turn 8, went off into the gravel. He gets back onto the track, thankfully, without further incident.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get back on track very, very thankfully, and that's going to be able to hold him out in 6th place, but a pretty hefty gap now up to Robbie Prescott, about 3.8 seconds here at this point.
Flying through the kink. You could see how much the cars slide through there from that angle that we saw, as now we watch them down into Canada corner, still nose to tail this group and not separating, but it does look like they lost a little time over that portion of the lap up to Lacroix. It went from 1.5 seconds to 2.1 now.
All right, so it's starting to grow a little bit more here at this point. That's going to be something they're going to have to watch out for, something that everybody's going to be keeping an eye on here. They're going to be looking at those relative boxes, and I got to think here for Chris Cook, that is going to be a little bit of an impetus to get by Chad. He does not want to let Lacroix scamper off into the distance.
Still seeing more and more opportunities for Chris Cook. He's been getting some great runs on these long straights. Eventually, something's going to stick. This time, he nearly gets down to the inside, but aggressive defending there from Chad Dick holds him back. Now he gets a bad exit, and Gary Brooks as well has to check up. Will Rob Prescott be able to reap the benefits?
It certainly looks like he may be able to, and it also looks like here that Brooks and Prescott are both going to be going for it. Prescott's going to be a little bit boxed in, but here comes Kerry Brooks down to the inside, and he's got that move done.
He's got friends on low lines there down at turn 5, does Brooks, and now he's going to move himself into P3, and unfortunately it's 2 spots and 2 corners as Chris Cook gets overtaken by Prescott in T6.
He's going to lose that out, and I said a little bit earlier, Robbie Prescott looked aggressive at the start of the race, backed himself off a little bit. Now it looks like he's back into aggression mode. He recognized he needed to get by Chris Cook. He made that move. Now he's going to set his eyes up on Kerry Brooks.
Well, Chad Dick is certainly loving all the action behind him, including this back here in the mid-pack as we go side by side through the carousel. Terrence Tong on the outside of Peter Sigourney. They're going to be able to hold it, but how long? Because here comes the kink. Sigourney with the inside, still hanging tough all the way out into the grass. Terrence Tong, hold on to it. He gets back onto the track without hitting anybody, amazingly, and somehow 3 cars flash by, but it causes a big checkup for Jeff Rosenthal.
I do not know how Terrence Tong was able to hold on to that car. He's going to also have to put on a little bit of a defense there, holding off an attack from the 713 machine, as now Tong's going to continue to just try to hold on here to the best of his ability. Let's watch this again. Look at Tong's hands as he gets just kicked off into that outside grass, holds it together, and those cars just coming by him at a rate of knots.
Wow. I give him credit. He's gutsy. He tried something I wouldn't have, and he managed to survive it, but he lost positions. Also, I don't know if we will get a replay of it, but Trey Davis in the 217 wrecked in front of the leaders and is now coming into the pits. Thankfully, nobody hit him, but that was a little bit of a scary moment for them. Back up into the mid-pack battle here as we check out the replay. Is this Davis? Yes, indeed it is. Off of the final corner. Oh, gets a little wobbly, and then into the barrier. There's the leader right there.
And there, crucially, Davis did the right thing. Yes, he was prone across the track, but he just held the brakes, made himself a consistent target that drivers were going to be able to avoid. Good heads up there from him.
That's what I love to see. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see in sim racing all the time, is drivers trying to take off too quickly and unfortunately making things worse after they've spun. But that's not the case with this one. In the meantime here, Chris Cook has now been demoted into 5th positions. 4 spots lost for our pole sitter. He's got the 1-lap pace, but he doesn't seem to have the race pace.
No, and I wonder if that's a little bit of an issue here of dealing with some of the dirty air. Now, remember, we talked about that earlier on, especially through some of these high-speed corners, how difficult that is. And, Joe, before we came onto the broadcast, you and I both remarked that Chris actually ran that fastest lap in clean air. And so that's it may be a situation here where that 47 just doesn't know how to act in dirty air, and he's really having a problem around here now.
Yeah, it seems like he's much better just all on his lonesome. We've lost a couple drivers, Tamer Albaga, Matthew Scott, and Scott Bowers, unfortunately. John Montgomery's been in pit lane for 16 minutes. It's probably a safe bet that he's also done with this race, but you never know. He could get back out there, just taking a long time and forgot to set his free repair on. Chris Cook with another good run is, oh, nope, we've gone back to Jonathan Fields in 33rd position with a bit of an issue. Oh, is that a pass for P2? Brooks thought about it.
Yeah, he thought about it there, but just wasn't able to get that car woed up in enough time, and I think that may have been a pretty crucial miscalculation here, because now look at this. Robbie Prescott carrying some great speed now down through turn 3. He's going to tuck up right behind Brooks, and they're going to be able to get a good tow here, and let's see if one of these drivers is able to poke out on the run down into 5.
The internet gods thankfully smiling on Robbie Prescott today, because remember, he had internet issues earlier in the first couple laps. They seem to have cleared up now and has managed to charge his way past Chris Cook, but can he get both Brooks and Dick here? Nobody's been able to overtake Chad Dick since the start of this race, when he made that excellent start and got himself up into P2. So as they fly down into the hurry downs, I tip my hat to Chad for what's been a very good defense in these first 20 minutes.
Yeah, and crucially here, Joe, he hasn't driven in a super defensive mode. We're not seeing him really respond a lot to the cars behind him. He's just carrying on and driving his traditional racing line, and that's really making it difficult here for Kerry Brooks to try to find a way by. He's not deviating from it. He's just taking the maximum speed through the corners, and it's very, very impressive. Watch him here coming down into Canada Corner. He's going to fade a little bit into the middle of the track, but he's not all the way over to the left defending it. It's just very, very heads-up way to play.
Love this from Chad Dick, taking that old advice, race your own race, don't worry about the others. And come what may, you'll hopefully get to the finish. as Dick comes out of the final corner. This one wasn't as good, though. Kerry Brooks gets a nice little boost of the draft coming off that orange and gray machine. We're going to watch from over the rear wing. This time he does drift down to the inside to try and defend from that number 77. Make him work for it as he approaches around the outside of turn 1. Oh, he's going to try and hang tough, but just dips his tires into the dirt. Here comes Prescott. He doesn't need 2 times of asking. He's going to get his nose down to the inside of turn 3, but now he's going to have to get a good exit, and he does.
He gets a fantastic exit there out of 3, and look at that up ahead right now as Robert Lacroix in position here. He's falling down, but we got to keep our eyes back as they go, because now it looks like that Chris Cook is trying to take advantage of Kerry Brooks' misfortune.
I think that was out of the final turn that Lacroix made that mistake, dipped the wheels off a little bit. Brooks versus Cook. Brooks is going to come out ahead. Prescott now up into P3. A lot of switching around here at the front of the field, but we're also seeing some critical mistakes right when they're vulnerable.
Yeah, some very critical mistakes. We now ride on board with Joachim Baker. This is back down in 12th place right now as he continues to try to hunt down on Mario Gonzalez. Gonzalez a little bit closer up ahead to Robert Walton, and so they're going to be able to hold that in a little bit more. But, man, just battles really up and down this top 10. It's not breaking apart at all.
Yeah, some great stuff here to kick off the season. Plenty of drivers have shown up, and very few have retired in these early stages, giving us all this action to follow. McKinney back in 15th, just at the tail end of this group as well. That's David Glenn just in front of us that we could see from the onboard.
Yeah, and here they go right now, down through the kink. Everybody able to keep it together there. David with his very, very stylish-looking man cave there, let's call it, with the LED lights showing out there. Certainly a good look. That's got to be one of my favorite webcams.
And a blue house, but not a blue car, unfortunately. Dabba-dee, dabba-doo. But as he comes out of the final corner, let's see if he can keep from getting the blues and run away from those chasing cars. Meanwhile, have yet to see anybody pit. They've probably reached the pit window at this stage, but we expect that most of them will try to go as long as possible. There have been a number of cars down pit lane, but it looks to be for damage or serving a penalty. Watching from on board Joachim.
Yeah, this is Baker trying to take a little bit of a look down into turn 3. Going to try to carry as much speed as possible. That's the 777 of Mario Gonzalez that we just focused in on. There you can see that train up in front as drivers just use the slipstream here down the long moraine sweep, trying to see if they're able to pick just a little bit of an advantage out of any of the cars around them.
Under braking, it was getting close there between Baker and Gonzalez. Great run from Mario. Walton just in front of him, and no dice. Doesn't try and stick his nose into turn 6. They switch back into 7, plunging downhill in this part as they get into the braking of 8. That's another big look from Gonzalez, but again, doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah, and I think from Gonzalez there, that's just a little bit of testing the waters, seeing if he can get Robert Walton to bite on any sort of defense and compromise his lines through the corners. But Walton not taking that at all. He's just continuing to run his own line, continuing to do what he needs to do, and that is keeping him up in this 10th place position.
Making it something worth noting, at least for now, as they weave their way down through the kettle bottoms. That was a bit of a bad run out of the kink for Mario, but Joachim can't capitalize on it. Off the apex as well, down through Canada corner, as now they climb up out of the woods and into the clear here, looking for that final turn. Let's see if Mario can get close enough to try and go on the attack down the front stretch.
He looks like he's able to carry a little bit more speed there out of the final corner, but the question's going to be is how powerful is this draft going to be? The gap only about a 10th and a half right now as they cross over the start-finish stripe. There's the defensive line out of Robert Walton. He's going to hold it down to the inside. Here comes Gonzalez trying to look around the outside.
Last time a car tried that, they went off into the dirt, but Mario's not going to fall victim to the same mistake. He'll just back out of it. By the way, if you're wondering why we're missing a car, Baker pits in that sequence. What about Kerry Brooks? Now we're watching him honestly clogged up behind Prescott and Dirksen there in front of him. Dirksen's a lap down. Unfortunately, may have cost a good opportunity for Kerry.
Yeah, it really may have. And remember when I said at the beginning of the broadcast, we've got to worry about some of the lap traffic around here, as it is certainly going to come back to bite, and that's exactly what we're seeing there for him. He was just clogged in, boxed in, nowhere to go, and now that compromised him and sacrificed a really, really great run.
So I believe the 330 is the first to take a scheduled stop there. And he's back out on track. Doesn't seem to be for any sort of damage because he didn't take his spare car. So I think that was just a ploy by him to try and get out of some of the action and get some clear air. That's always a risky move, DJ, especially with this many cars, because he might still have to make some passes.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to find himself a little bit farther down in the order here at this point, and you really don't want to have that. Oh, big off in the back there for Joe Sinclair. He just went doing a little bit of rally cross out of the kink.
Oof, that's not the place where you want to go off, unfortunately. We're watching Trip Starkey in the meantime here on board with him. And 23rd position, that's Aaron Ambrosino. I don't think we've really even talked about much up till now in that 08 machine. We're going to look back from on top of his car. Let's see if they get through the keep themselves. That looks good between the pair of them, although really taking it out to the edge. Trip Starkey is using up every inch of the road down into the braking of Canada corner. It just doesn't have enough of a straightaway.
No, he doesn't. And the one thing there for Tripp that I would be a little bit worried about is that car looked a little bit wobbly coming through the kink at high speed. It just looked a little bit unstable. And so that wasn't necessarily the greatest thing for him. But Mario Gonzalez, now going to be the latest driver to come on down into pit lane.
Yeah, impressive stuff there for Gonzalez to make that call. And just as impressive, Ambrosino, who we're riding on board with, is up 20 positions from the start. Jason Brodigan's actually done one better. He's up 21 since the beginning of this race. As once again, can't take our eyes off this battle near the front of the field. They've dropped from Lacroix again, but it's only up to 1.3 seconds. It's an ebb and a flow in their hunt for the lead, but they've been going at each other's throats from second down to fifth.
Yeah, they certainly have. And the closest battle right now is the one that we watch between Kerry Brooks and Chris Cook right now. Cook in that Robin's Egg blue Porsche as he runs his way around. And then Kerry Brooks in that yellow and black machine that we have our cameras focused in on. They're going to be having a little bit more lap traffic that they're going to have to deal with, though. Aaron Nations, I think, about 2.5 seconds up the road. That could be a little bit of a cork in the bottle. And that may inspire, let's say, some pit stops to fire off.
Absolutely. Somebody's going to probably do something, I would imagine, with that variable coming their way out of Canada corner. Bit of a bad run from Chad Dick that time as we watch from on top of him, looking back at Prescott. But now Prescott doesn't have it down through Bill Mitchell Bend. What about out of the final corner? Anybody going to take DJ's advice and try and pit in? No, everybody's going to stay out, and including Brooks, who gets a great run, is going to attempt to pass for third.
Yeah, he's going to try to make that move. He's going to be on the preferred line, the inside line here as Robert Lacroix sets the fastest lap of the race with a 2:04.295. Here it's down into the braking zone, though. Brooks has got a nose ahead of Prescott. He gets his elbows out there, and he's going to hold on to third place.
And now he's vulnerable to Cook as well. Cook's going to send it in deep. Once that spot back from Prescott, took him a while to try and get to where he could maybe make an attempt, but he's almost got it. Wow, that is tight there. There was inches between Cook and Prescott as he tried to get into the slipstream of that car.
I don't think this is over here yet quite at this point, Joe. Prescott now going to look down to the inside of the braking zone for turn 5. You've got to be careful here. So easy to lock up those fronts. Prescott down to the inside, able to make it work. He's going to get that position back.
Well, Chris had it for about a straightaway, and that's it. Back to 5th place he goes. Behind them, Sinclair's chasing, but he's been having internet connection issues. Don't think he's had any blinks recently because it looks like he hasn't been given a penalty, but I know for a while he was disappearing from our timing and scoring for a few moments at a time. back out through the carousel. We look at our leader, Lacroix. That car that you saw flash by is Aaron Nations that DJ mentioned earlier. Should catch him probably in the next lap or two.
I should be coming up against him here not too much longer before that's really going to be a little bit of a thing. We're going to have to see how Nations does respond to it. And now that we are at the halfway point, this is the logical point for some of these drivers to come on into the pits. But I think if you are Lacroix at this position, don't come in. Run that tank until it is absolutely dry. No need to put yourself into a vulnerable position by coming down into pit lane at this point.
Yeah, I agree. He's not been getting traffic thick enough. Although, boy, he ran very wide once again out of the final turn. Remember, that was the one that cost him about 2 seconds earlier on. And the other reason not to pit right now probably would be this, because I see very few gaps that are big enough to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, you're really not going to find too much of a gap at any point on this track with just as many as we have out on display here. I think anytime you try to pit in, you're going to find yourself in lap traffic, so you might as well just hold it out as late as possible.
It's looked like a slightly frustrating day so far for Chris Cook. Lost the lead at the very start, fell down the order, fell to 5th even, and hasn't been able to overtake and stay ahead of Prescott. He's made a pass, but it went away within the very next corner.
Yeah, and now at this point, he's just a little bit too far behind Robbie Prescott to really make that move. Great closing speed, though, down into the braking zone for turn 5, but not enough run off of the corner to put a challenge up into turn 6. I really think here at this position that if you are Chris Cook, just keep running. Don't try to send this all away. You're looking at pretty much a confirmed top 5 here at this point. You may be able to get a 4th. You may be able to get a 3rd. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but you don't want to throw it away here with a risky move.
Saw Prescott kick up some dirt out of turn 7 as well. So speaking of risky moves there. Meanwhile, Ambrosino, one of our hard chargers, now he's up to 23 positions gained. Kevin Douglas is the one that hasn't beat this time at 25 up as they come out of 5 and into 6. Ambrosino's trying to run away from Trip Starkey. Just behind him currently. I feel like Trip Starkey feels like such a NASCAR name. It's a very, very good race car driver name.
Yeah, it really is. It's like Scott Speed. It's just there's no other logical career path you could have. Scott Speed, Will Power. Of course you're going to be a race car driver if you're named that.
Makes me wonder, there's a kid that went to a summer camp that I worked at many years ago whose actual name was Gunner Pipes. I hope he became a race car driver someday. Meanwhile, out of the kink, Starkey's getting uncomfortably close to Ambrosino now.
Yeah, he is. We're starting to see a little bit of a run here down into Canada corner. The 08 may have to go a little bit defensive. He doesn't have to down into that run into 12. Let's see, up through Bill Mitchell Bend. It looks like the 08's going to build a little bit of an advantage. Ambrosino able to hold it out for now. But Trip Starkey just needs to focus on his corner exits here at this point. Really get a good run, and he may be able to have a shot.
Back up ahead of them. The number 9 of Gary Reese is hunting down Richard Franco, taking it into turn 1, right up to that inside curb. And it's a better exit for Richard, at least for now. Gary Reese going to try and set him up out of 3. They've also got Robert McNeil and Avijit Barua just behind him. Gary looking strong as they now head down the Moraine sweep.
Down the Moraine sweep here at this point. This is all about the draft. Let's see what they're able to do. Great camera angle here from our director, Ryan Bauer, just showing that deep downhill as they are down to the inside. The number 9 tries to make the move. He's gonna get it done, Joe.
Fantastic stuff from Gary. Covers the inside just in case Richard is feeling a little spicy, and it looks like Franco is not able to try and repass him. Meanwhile, speaking of which, looks like Ambrosino is under threat because Starkey got to the inside into 5 and 6, but still hanging tough. Ambrosino's not going to give it away easily.
No, he's not, and he knew that coming down into turn 7 that the track was going to switch back on itself a little bit and that he would have the inside line. That's great. Ooh, wide run there for the number 20 machine.
Tripp just going a little too hot down into turn 8. That costs him valuable tenths And he's now a second and a half behind Ambrosino, so that separates that. Oh, Chad Dick. Well, I thought he had an issue. He's in pit lane, it looks like. He is going to pit in early compared to his rivals. He follows Aaron Nations in, curiously.
Yeah, interesting there to see him follow a lapped car like that down into pit lane, but we haven't really gotten a chance to talk about this pit lane, Joe. It is interminably long, interminably slow to come down here at this point. It is an absolute it completely messes with you as a driver coming down into speed. You're frankly able to carry a decent amount of speed coming into the pits because it's an uphill braking zone, so you can kind of use the force of gravity to slow the car a little bit, but it is a very slow pit lane.
David Glenn also pit in that time. Cook trying yet again. I've lost count of how many times he's had a go at this, but once again, it does not produce fruits. He got awful close, though, into 5.
Yeah, got awfully close, though, trying to take that little bit of a look, and I think he was noticing that Robbie Prescott was trying to make a little bit of a move on Kerry Brooks up ahead of him to see if he was going to be able to get that to play, but that clearly didn't. We're going to jump farther back down in the field, though. This is Ben Leong chasing behind Brett Holmes.
Dick got back out in 18th place with a little bit of clear air in front of him, so that's the good news. Fortunately, does have Trip Starkey not that far ahead. So that might be an issue. Out through the carousel, we watch some of our front runners vying for the 6th position between Holmes and Leung. Down into the kink, the very multicolored number 6 keeps it on the track, while the Brumos liveried number 290 keeps him in check. Don't think he's going to make a move here into Canada Corner, and indeed, he's going to stay in line for now. Once again, a tiny little mistake out of Holmes.
Yeah, just a little bit of one, and that's going to be giving some hope here to Ben Leong. He's going to recognize those mistakes, but Joe, our leader, and Robbie Prescott both down into pit lane.
Interesting. Okay, so they're responding. I would have thought they'd try to go a little longer unless the pit window is more narrow than we anticipated. It might be the case, actually. Holmes is pitting. Leung is pitting. Peter Sigourney. I see Robert Walton now into pit lane, so only Brooks and Cook have stayed out amongst our front runners.
Yeah, we've got plenty of drivers here just opting to take a little bit of a change here, but most of them coming down into pit lane. Chad Dick, this is going to be the real question. Where does Chad come out in relation to those other cars that are coming down to the pits right now?
Well, Dick is coming up to the final corner as we hop on board with him. That is Patrick Adamczyk just in front of him. Adamczyk's already had a penalty. He's going to come and serve that. Dick is going to fly up the front stretch. Lacroix had a bit of a long stop in comparison. Is this going to be enough? No, it looks like he's going to get out ahead. No, maybe not. It's tight. No, that's Trip Starkey. Excuse me. He's not there. That's the wrong car. It's Chad Dick who will slot in behind Robbie Prescott. And Lacroix actually has a buffer of a lapped car between them now.
Oh, that is mega there for Lacroix. And look at exactly where Robbie Prescott is, too. Able to get ahead of Chad Dick. They're able to jump him in the pit stop cycle. And now Robbie's going to use that lapped car to a little bit of his own advantage and pull himself along.
21.5 seconds for Lacroix. Chad Dick, 19.3. Prescott, a 20.6. This is for position, but off sequence to one another. So we have to question whether or not Tripp is aware that he's around drivers that he doesn't necessarily need to battle. Obviously, he wants as much speed as he can get. So Trip Starkey is kind of in an awkward position now. Will he try and let them through, not try to interrupt this battle, or is he just going to hold his ground for Robert Prescott? It was so close to maybe coming out in the lead there, but maybe just 0.3 of a second quicker. I think he would have had Robert.
Yeah, I think he would have as well. It was absolutely nip and tuck there between those drivers, and now as they bring themselves back around and they go, one important thing here to keep in mind, though, Chad is the highest placed driver with a 0x, which means he has not picked up an incident limit. But here, the rest of the field up in front right now, Brooks and Cook both coming to the pits here on lap 19.
See Harrison in, Mike Sachs. I think this is it. I think this is the very last lap that we're going to be able to see drivers try to make it on natural fuel, because it looks like they're all headed in. as Lacroix, will he re-inherit the lead here? Cook pitting. Can he do anything just ahead of him? Kerry Brooks is out much, much faster. In fact, I wonder if Cook maybe had some sort of speeding penalty here. No, I don't see a flag next to his name. Brooks has jumped our leader instead out of the pit lane and side by side. It's out of the frying pan into the fire for Chris Cook, and still he cannot overtake Prescott. He dives it deep into 3 and now has to back out of it.
And that's going to leave him very, very vulnerable here to an attack from Chad Dick from behind. And Chad now starting to put pressure. He's going to be looking down to what will be the inside here of turn 5.
Chad Dick, honestly, kind of the biggest loser in this whole story. He was running second place. Now he's looking at potentially 5th. If he can hold off Chad Dick, Chris Cook rather, he's going to get 4th place, which he did. So move Chad into P4, but that's not the position he was hoping for.
No, it's not, but he's still got 20 laps left to go in this race, and he's got plenty of speed to be able to get himself around. But as you said earlier, the Upper Canada region driver here of the 77, Kerry Brooks, executing on that pit stop absolutely perfectly. He's got a gap here of 2 seconds back to Robert Lacroix. That is mega.
And the difference between them, just about 2 seconds in the pit stop. That's very interesting stuff. I wonder then, because Brooks went on longer, if the overcut was still the way to go for these cars, because he was more than just a 10th or so behind Lacroix before the pit stop. So he did more than just leapfrog them. He outgunned him on the track.
Yeah, just able to put in a good in and out lap there at that point to really make it work. But now he's going to find himself right in the midst of a little bit of a battle. Chad right up ahead of him. And now Joe Sinclair, who, let's not sleep on Joe. He's been able to bring himself back up into this equation as well. And he's looking at a top 5.
Yeah, we have to remember all of our pit stops are done. So this is legitimate. Joe Sinclair has caught up to them. And these 3 are now fighting amongst each other as Dick tries to cover the inside all the way up to the pit wall. Chris Cook going to look around the outside. That's going to leave him vulnerable if Sinclair fancies his shot. He could get a better exit here, trying to cover the inside off the corner. Chris Cook continuing to plug up any openings and make sure that Sinclair can't make the pass. But eventually, with the way that Joe is poking and prodding, I wonder if he'll find a way through.
Yeah, I wonder as well, and I was a little bit worried there when I saw Chris take that line down into turn 3 that he was really going to compromise himself, but he did something very heads up, Joe. He planted the car at the apex and forced Joe Sinclair to actually check up a little bit, and that really stymied any chance that Sinclair was going to have to make the attack going down the Moraine sweep. That is a next level, really thought out maneuver here by Chris Cook.
So Cook still in 5th place, still trying to work forward and has been having trouble doing so for some time. Interesting to note about Chad Dick, though. He's actually back where he started. We have to remember that that 2nd place running was him making that fantastic beginning to the race and pushing his way forward and then holding everybody off. But unfortunately, the pit stop seemed to have left a gap open that he was unable to defend. As we're going to check out Terrence Tong now with his on board with an absolute train of cars, frankly. That's going to be David Glenn, Derek Dirksen, and Brandon Harrison, along with Jason Brodigan following in his wake.
Yeah, they're going to be a long run of cars here at this point. I mean, look at that. And that's really where we're going to see that big draft train start to come into play as we ride on board here with Brodigan, that we're not going to see that many cars really be able to get themselves up ahead of one another because they're all stealing the draft off of one another.
Oh, things got worse for Chris Cook. He just went off track and Joe Sinclair snatched it up out of Canada corner. I wonder if he got a little ambitious because I thought I saw some movement on my timing and scoring screen. I think maybe had a pass for about a 1.5 seconds and then unfortunately skittered into the gravel.
Yeah, I think that may have been what we saw happen there for him. But right now, as we keep our eyes on this battle, my question is going to be is what kind of pace does Sinclair here have to be able to chase down Chad Dick? Here they go out of the corner. Oh, no, it's going to be pace advantage here to Chris Cook. Cook was able to get the good run out of 3.
Yeah, he was right on top of it, and he's crawling all over that rear wing as we see the green Sinclair car of Joe Sinclair. He'll defend the inside. Oh, that was a bit of a drift back and forth, but that leaves the door open. Can he make the corner? Just barely, but he goes wide once again. Over ambitious on those brakes. Chris Cook can't seem to find the apex.
Well, and Joe, that is such a difficult corner to get the braking right to. As now Sinclair's not done. He's going to have a look at Chad Dick going down through turn 7. Joe Sinclair on the aggression here.
I think it was a slip up from Dick coming off of turn 6. Just couldn't get the throttle down, and Joe just about pounced on him. This is all just for 4th place. Top 3 are now starting to run away from them. We're going to check in with David Glenn. In the meantime, 14th place driver, unfortunately a bit on his lonesome out on the track.
Yeah, he's just kind of running in an island unto himself in that number 172 machine right now, and I guarantee you that's probably a bit of relief compared to what we've seen out on the rest of the track, as so many drivers are just absolutely going nip and tuck with one another. And speaking of that, look at this. Robert Lacroix keeping the pressure up to the back of Robbie Prescott. This is the battle for P2, but I just saw Joe Sinclair made a mistake going down into Canada Corner, and now Chris Cook has got the position.
Oh no, he did the exact same thing that Chris Cook did and just overshot it. And Chris Cook said, "Thank you very much. It's nice to have some karma."
It is indeed, and let's watch this run. I didn't see exactly how this got set up. I'm not sure if Joe was looking at a move here on Chad. Let's see if Chad goes defensive. That's Joe down to the outside, tries to make it work. Chad just feeds him out, and he had to check himself up there, and that was enough for Chris Cook to be able to steal that position away.
It's a real Chad move there to get him into 4th place, as now he's going to try and get P3 on top of things. And Chad Dick has got himself a lot of defending to do once again. He's had lots of practice here in this race. As they approach turn 5, it was a poorer exit for Chris, unfortunately, so don't think he's going to be able to get it here, but he's been wanting to try and overtake that 930 for some time. Will he get his chance finally?
Well, let's see if he's able to do it. He's not going to get it down into turn 5, unfortunately, as we watch them climb up the hill now. Chris Cook going to keep pressure onto the back here at this point. Let's see if they're able to get anything to go.
Chad's been running super clean today. He only has a single incident all race so far. David Glenn is down in pit lane. Now, certainly I wouldn't think, oh, he had a problem. He's got a meatball flag, so we must have missed an incident. I think we've got the replay here.
All right, this is coming. This is the kink. It's the kink.
Oh.
Just runs it a little bit too wide on worn tires, tries to gather it back up under him. The tires grip back up when you get onto the asphalt, and that's enough to propel him right into that outside barrier.
Concrete wall was a bit of a blue blocker, that one, so it brought his day to an end. Here we go. Chad Dick versus Chris Cook coming around the outside. Got to be careful because Sinclair did not lose enough time to be away from this fight. The 3 of them all still with a shot. It may be taking 4th position up onto the main straight. Dick trying to square this one off and does a great job of it, frankly.
Yeah, it does a really good job of being able to keep that gap at bay right now. Chad's going to be able to hold on to about a 3.5 tenths of a second advantage. We're going to jump back here a little bit farther in the field. This is Brett Holmes in 9th.
Brett Holmes trying to hold off Peter Sigourney behind him, but we're looking at Walton also close to the pair of them. That's Joachim Baker off to our left-hand side, does not defend or isn't able to defend coming up to the first corner. Walton's still going to have to outbrake him, though. Sends it as deep as he dares. Doesn't completely feed him out. He leaves him room, and they're going to have a nice fair fight to give Walton 11th place. That was textbook stuff there.
Yeah, it really was. Just held it around the inside, made it work out, and there we ride on board with Joachim Baker. Great triple screen monitor setup there that he has, and they continue to go around. Joachim's going to try to get a little bit of a slipstream here, maybe try for a counterattack. I don't think he's going to be close enough, but I'll tell you what there, it certainly looks like Robert thought he might have been. That was a little bit of a defensive move.
Yeah, I didn't feel completely comfortable on that one, unfortunately, as there's another little duck to the inside from Peter Sigourney in front of them in the white and red machine. Didn't get him the spot. That's going to be that fight for 9th position.
Yeah, this is for ninth right now. Ooh, little bit of a poke to the inside, coming down into the braking zone for turn 8, leading right onto the carousel. Let's see what they're able to do here as they start to get themselves around. Brett just looking back there at that, flock of cars behind him.
Ooh, he's getting awful close now, and this is not a place you want to make a pass coming down into the kink. He knows it. He's going to lift and stay away. As Walton as well, looks like he also kind of got out of the throttle there, afraid of an accident getting ready to happen. Back to the onboard with Sinclair, chasing on Cook as they approach the final turn. It's the final 11 minutes of this race, so they've only got about 6 laps left.
Yeah, it's really starting to be now or never time here for Chris Cook, and I think unfortunately for all of these drivers, they're going to be looking at not being on the podium. Defensive line, though, for Chad coming down into turn 1. He's going to force Chris to go around the outside if he wants to go for it. Now, that's going to compromise Chad just a little bit coming out of the corner, and now here comes a move for Chris Cook. Again, a defensive line there for Chad, really making that number 930 as wide as possible.
Oh, that puts him off the racing line down through 3. Sinclair wasn't able to take advantage of it. He's going to get back in line as we watch from on board Chad. And as they head towards turn 5 into the braking, he could try and get this spot once again, but Cook is just going to keep it right smack dab in the middle of the circuit. They will stay put. Nothing's changed up at the front, by the way, since those pit stops. So we haven't talked about Brooks and Prescott and Lacroix, but they stay 1, 2, 3 in that order. Baker looking for the over-under.
Looking for a little bit of an over-under here at this point as they try to be able to get something to play. Looks like it's going to be a little bit close, but they're able to keep it single file coming up through 6 and 7. Baker's
still hot on his heels. Walton giving watch in the mirrors, trying to defend when he needs to, but no more than that so as not to cost himself time. Out through the carousel, long downhill drop through here. It might be a little bit more gradual than some of the more famous elevation-based corners, but you go a long, long ways down. And in front of them, once again, we go too wide. Sigourney trying to do it the hard way. Is he going to do it? Yes, he is! Fantastic move to overtake Holmes for ninth on the outside of the kink.
Joe, color me speechless. That was incredible, and it's not done here yet as Walton takes a little bit of a look up to the inside there of Sigourney going down into Canada corner. It's not going to play itself out, but now Joachim Baker looking very hungry as well.
And don't forget about Terrence Tong back there in 13th. He's also a part of this group. Basically, it's become a 5-car battle to decide 9th place rather, in this race. Got a couple cars into pit lane here as I think Trey Davis had to make an unscheduled stop into there. Terrence Tong watching on. Oh, did Cook lose the position again? Cook is side by side with Sinclair yet again. Whoa! Who was that just suddenly dove up the inside across the grass?
I think that was Baker. I think that was Joachim Baker.
Oh, boy. And I think he had some help. I looked away at just the wrong time. Going back and checking the replay, he and Walton are going to make a little bit of contact here.
Yep, little bit of a hip check there, unfortunately. Both drivers trying to go for the same piece of real estate, and that was a heavy, heavy lick into the outside barrier.
Despite iRacing recently changing the grip of the gravel traps so that they slow you down more, it still was not enough, and he flew into those tires. This is your 3rd place driver, Robert Lacroix, and in front of him, he can see Prescott. Could he get his way back up the 2nd?
Well, he might be able to here. Lacroix has really been running some fast laps. I think it was 2 laps ago he set the fastest lap of the race. So he has got the speed here clearly, and with only about 0.5 of a second still to gain down on him, he's got time and he's got the ability. Another driver who's got that potential, Joe Sinclair, is all over the back of Chris Cook.
Yeah, I was talking about how he was side by side in P3 and turn 3 rather, when suddenly we saw that big accident through turn 1. So it hasn't gone away, but it also hasn't changed positions. as they fly out of the final turn. They start battling. Look at Chad Dick up in front of them. He's kind of edging away from the pair.
Yeah, he's starting to edge away a little bit here at this point as they continue to go, continue to spread themselves out just a little bit. And it doesn't look like here at this point that we're going to see any movement either from any of these other drivers. They're going to stay single file down through one.
Bad news for fans of Robert Walton. He's spun it through the kettle bottoms and hit the wall. I fear he might... whoa, who's this? Mike Sachs off in the final turn. He's going to get back on, but he's also heading into pit lane, and that is with a meatball flag. He must have hit something.
Yeah, he must have made contact there as we're going to check out. This is coming up through Bill Mitchell Bend here at this point. Looks like this is going to be a pretty solo incident. Does he just carry a little bit too much speed? Yeah, the rear end of that Porsche GT3 breaks away. He locks it down to right in the middle of the track.
Oh, that's what caused it. Someone hit him hard. I'm not sure who that was, but surely they had to come into pit lane as well. This is Brandon Harrison, apparently, that is the complete opposite of what we talked about earlier, of just holding your brakes, and that is the result.
Yeah, Brandon just clearly thought that car was going to stay put and was going to go around the outside of it, and that just didn't play itself out. But as we come back to live pictures, the battle for P4 continues to be pretty intense. Now it's Chris Cook on the attack. Looks like Joe Sinclair's falling back a little bit. I wonder if that could be strategic, Joe, maybe trying to cool down the tires here for a last-minute attack on the last couple of laps.
Could be. Maybe he's just biding his time, hoping to get everything fresh and ready for a hard charge, because at this point, probably not going to catch up to first, second, and third, which is second and third is still incredibly tight between Prescott and Lacroix. In fact, I think, yeah, here we go. Our director is on it. Robert has caught up to the back of Prescott, and Robbie is going to cover off the inside line. Robert dipping to the outside, braking very, very deep, but I don't think he's got the grip, and no, Prescott's going to hold him back.
He's going to hold him back for now, but I got to think here that what Prescott needs to do is try to break on that apex, try to slow him down a little bit. It looked like he just carried a continuous line around, but now look who's got the momentum here. This is Chris Cook with a great run coming out of 3.
Cook's been trying for this so long in this race. Is he finally going to get it done? Dick just ahead of him. He's got about 3 more laps, I believe, before this race is over. As they break down into 5, another defense from Chad Dick, which slows them both up, and Joe Sinclair has regained his lost time.
Yes, he has. Sinclair's right on the back of this pack right now. They've got about 3.5 seconds to run up to these final podium positions of Lacroix and Prescott. I don't think they're going to be able to catch up to them. We do have to watch out just a little bit, because unless my eyes deceive me, that's Ben Leung. Excuse me, that's a lap car behind them. Ben's about 7 seconds behind that trio.
Yeah, that is Joachim Baker, unfortunately, after his big shunt down into turn 1. So he is not involved in this one. Down through the kink. Anybody going to get a good exit out of here? Maybe a poor one if they just clip the grass. No, they're all about dead even with one another. And now they look for the brake marker into Canada corner. By the way, Kerry Brooks, still our leader, and by actually an impressive 4.5 seconds, is about to take the white, the 2 to go signal, rather, not the white flag.
Yeah, so Kerry here just running a very, very good race up at the front of the field. 4.5 seconds, as you said, going to cross over that famous start-finish line here. 2 to go, given by Barney the Flagman.
It's about the biggest gap for the lead that we've seen all race because of how tight it's been on pace. Lacroix versus Prescott here, and this time he's got the inside, sends it deep, finds the apex, and Robert Lacroix is back into P2. Prescott gets demoted to 3rd.
Prescott gets demoted to 3rd, but let's see how he handles turn 3 here at this point. Lacroix is going to run a little bit wide there on exit, got a little bit squirrely. The gap's only about 3.5 tenths of a second. This could close down for Prescott.
Joachim Baker was given a black flag, a 20-second stop and hold for the incident earlier on. So he did not get away scot-free from that one. No change for position in P2, but it looks like Sinclair is going to try and change P5 down into turn 5. He slides just in front, and almost a slide job there for the 212 to hold off Cook.
Yeah, you saw Cook getting all kinds of squirrely there out of the corner, just trying to get the power down. I think that was an issue of just spinning those rear tires. It's not normally something we say here in Porsche machinery with all the weight over the rear tires, but I think that's exactly what happened, Joe.
Yeah, that was pretty intense there. So Sinclair having to get aggressive, but making it stick as we come down out of turn 3 now, farther back. And the fight between, I believe this is, I think we're chasing on Trip Starkey here with Ballestieri. Yeah, or no, excuse me, we're on board with Starkey, trying to chase on Volker Krebs.
Yeah, trying to see if he's going to be able to close that down here a little bit. Again, only about a lap and a half here to go for these drivers, so they're going to have to try to see what they are able to do. There is your leader, Kerry Brooks, coming out of the final corner, coming to the white flag.
1 to go. This has been a sneaky win if Brooks can take this home. He started in 5th position. Yes, he looked strong early on and was making a few passes, but it wasn't until the pit stops that we saw his super fast stop jump him up in the lead. Wonder if he was saving fuel in the first half.
Could have been saving some fuel, could have been saving some tires as well. We didn't see a lot of these drivers taking tires in the course of their pit stops, but here comes Robbie Prescott trying to make a move down into turn 3. The battle's still on for P2.
Lacroix denies him, unable to make the pass stick. It's been a big separation between Dick Sinclair and Cook behind them, unfortunately, so that battle finally died out at the very end. This could be the one to watch as they head towards the break into turn 5, both getting onto the binders. It's not good enough for Prescott. Can he reel him in enough to try and have one last attempt?
Let's see if he's able to do it. He's going to run out of area to really make that run work. The only place he's going to have to do it here at this point, I think, is going to be going down into Canada corner. But we'll have to see. He is pushing, and he is off tracking. He is trying to give that number 1 everything he's got.
Not leaving anything on the table. I love seeing that when drivers try and make sure and wring everything out of it that they can. Down through the carousel for the final time of this race. He's mighty close. I think there could be something on the cards if he plays it right.
He's going to have to get the right run here through the kink. He's not going to have to lift here. And look at that. That's exactly what he needs. Robbie Prescott on the attack.
Prescott going to try for the inside into Canada corner. Can't defend. It's too late. He's down there to the apex, and he feeds himself through. Prescott back into P2 after losing it about a lap ago. Ahead of them both, Kerry Brooks has snuck his way up to the front, and with some great strategy along with some fantastic speed, the 77 is your first victor of Series 10.
A great run there for Kerry Brooks. Very interested to talk to them about that pit stop cycle and all of that, but we have got to give credit here to Robbie Prescott, not saying no until the last possible minute and holding on to P2.
Yeah, that was just amazing stuff there from the number 1 car to move himself back into second place. Trip Starkey down in P17. Big group of cars here. That's Krebs in front of him, Ballestieri behind him, and Joachim Baker a lap down. And then I think Scott Kessel is also for position, trying to break the slipstream from them. Just 2 more corners to go.
2 more corners to go here as this pack continues to wind its way through Bill Mitchell Bend. Are we going to see a sudden last-minute maneuver here as they go? Working their way down to the corner. There was a little bit of a poke, but it looks like they're going to stay in line.
No change amongst them, so everybody finishes as they were in this group. Boy, we have a lot of drivers on the lead lap here as we're down to 21st and 22nd and still watching them try to wrap this up. So he's going to be able to take it to the line without any sort of challenge, unfortunately, as Kevin Douglas back in 29th. Has Matt Owens in front of him. I'm seeing 34 cars set to finish on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's about what I'm seeing here as well, Joe. Looks like, though, that as we watch these two working their way through, this is going to have to be a last-minute dive, I think, if we want to see it play itself out. Going to try to see if there's anything to be had here going through that final corner. Not really good. And there, I think we're going to see a single file run across the line.
Ooh, but look at this group behind them, very close together. Dirksen chased by Velez, but he runs out of straightaway. Lacombe behind him, and Klaus Nielsen wrapping up the last of the drivers on the lead lap. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Break a little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guests' lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Welcome back to Road America. Race 1 here for Series 10 as Kerry Brooks take the victory for the opening salvo. Robbie Prescott managed to get P2, and it was with a pass literally on the last lap to make it stick over Robert Lacroix, who unfortunately had overtaken him shortly before that, but apparently just couldn't keep him behind. Chad Dick just off the podium. Bit of a bad day for him, unfortunately, as Joe Sinclair is P5, and an even worse day for Chris Cook, who went from the pole down to 6th position. Ben Leon was P7, quietly running his way there, as Mario Gonzalez was 8th and Peter Sigourney 9th, and it was Terrence Tong rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Jason Brodigan, followed by Brett Holmes with Michael McKinney in 13th, and Gary Reese a little bit off of him in 14th. Scott Kessel on an island kind of unto himself there in 15th, followed by Volker Krebs, but Krebs was followed very closely home by Trip Starkey and Sebastiano Ballestieri. It was Aaron Ambrosino in P19, and P20 was David Fernandez.
Scroll through the rest for you as you see our 54 cars that started this race, and how they wound up. A massive field to begin Series 10. But up at the front of it, Kerry Brooks, I believe, ready to talk to us about how the race went for him. Kerry, congratulations. How early were you starting to save fuel? Because that was a mighty fast stop that moved you up to the lead.
Holy moly. I don't know. I was relying entirely on crew chief to manage fuel for me, but, through the first part of the race, it really was just tucked in behind the, position 1, 2, and 3 as we flipped around a little bit. But I think I was definitely able to save some there.
Well, you also took the fastest lap, so it wasn't just down to strategy. And on top of that, I'd also give you credit because your pit stop time was not quick enough that it would have jumped you ahead of Lacroix on itself. So you actually paced faster than the leader and your time trying to jump him. I mean, that was a pretty class act of a race.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joe. It was a lot of fun. I really felt like I had a little bit more pace than them throughout the entire part. And when they popped into the pits, I knew it was time to send out some flyers. And I think I got 1 or 2 laps maybe while they after they had pitted, and they were fast enough. And then a few flyers later on when I thought Robert and Robbie were catching up to me. And fortunately, we kept it between the grass, and off we went.
Well, for the next race, it's going to be at VIR. You've set a pretty high bar for yourself. Can you back up the win?
Well, you know what? First, I'm going to have to buy it, and then I'm going to have to learn it. You know what? I will put the practice in. I love this organization. I love what we're doing, and I will give it my all. No question.
I have good news for you. VIR is free. So
well, there you go. So I own it. One step ahead.
All right. Well, congratulations, Kerry. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you next round.
I really appreciate it, Joe. Thanks.
That was Kerry Brooks, your winner, who had a pleasant surprise there at his finish. Up next, though, DJ is caught up with Robbie Prescott, who has proved himself a fierce fighter today.
Indeed, Robbie, talk to me about the final lap there. Just absolute guts out racing there with Robert. What happened?
I mean, what a way to start off season 10, right? You got to get the blood flowing, give the viewers an excitement a little bit. But I saw Robert, Battle of the Roberts, what a way to do it also. But I saw him coming up into turn 1. And I'm like, you know what? I'll let him have it. There's plenty of other places to dive on him and get him. I wanted to get him on turn 5, but I messed up a little bit coming out of turn 4 or 3 or whatever it is. And then I'm like, my only chance is Canada corner. And usually when we've been doing in practices, the aero wash from the cars have been horrible, and usually you spin. And I'm just like, I have nothing to lose. So I just full sent it, full throttle in the kink, dove it down in the Canada corner and walked away with P2. So I will definitely take it.
I'm sure you will, my friend. And talk to me about the battling up into that point. I mean, you were both just absolutely, really all of you were kind of involved in that battle. How much were you kind of going for broke in the early stages of the race? How much were you holding back, maybe saving some tires, saving some fuel?
Yeah, so I think I almost caused a huge crash on lap 1, turn 1. I got a run on Chris, and I took the inside, and all of a sudden I saw Chad Dick just shoot the gap real close to me, and I'm like, dang, that was a pretty ballsy move by him. But I think the whole time everybody kept it respectable. Robert and I were talking in the waiting room that we gave each other a room, and it was so much fun. And I tried to fuel save as much as I could, but for the most part, I was just kind of full on the throttle, just trying to keep it up front as much as possible.
Well, as we turn our attention to 2 weeks' time and we head out to VIR, how do you think that's going to go? Are you going to like that track? Is that one that really suits you, or is that one that you're a little bit more trepidatious about?
Oh, I'm hyped up for this whole series. There's a lot of controversy about flipping from multiple cars to each race, but I take that as a challenge, and I'm like, bring it on. This just shows who the true drivers are, because if you can hop from one car to the next and still put yourself at the front of the pack, that just shows how good you are. So I'm excited. I did some IMSA races at Virginia, and I love the new scan, love the new layout. So time to get in the GT4 and start practicing, and can't wait to have another battle with these guys. It's going to be a great season.
Well, we can't wait to see you out there, my friend. But as for today, who makes this possible? Who'd you like to thank?
Oh, of course, you guys. I guess our new sponsor, Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma. I got to give the shout out to all my friends back home watching. I run Division I cross country and track, so hopefully all my teammates and coaches are watching this as well. Maybe some professors at school. But I got to give a big shout out to my dad, because Road America is my home course. We grew up a couple hours away from there. So I remember sitting down in Canada Corner as like a 3-year-old watching my dad rip some Skip Barber cars around the track. So he definitely gets my love for racing going, and only living a couple hours from Road America. I definitely like to walk away with the P2 at what I would consider my home track. So it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the rest of the season.
Well, we can't wait for it either. My friend Robbie, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time out.
Thank you, boys.
All right, Joe, that was Robbie Prescott, your second place finisher.
And the man that he passed, Robert Lacroix, had a bit of an interesting one. Robert, you started out leading most of this race, and then after the pit stops, you came back out in 5th. Were you sitting there asking yourself what happened?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch the replay because I was asking myself exactly that. What happened exactly here? But then I just, head down. It's like, okay, let's figure out where to get to from here.
Well, it was an impressive charge back up, and you fought Robbie hard for it. Both of you gave as good as you got in this one. What ultimately do you think gave him the edge that got him the second place?
I left it wide open in Canada corner. That was the problem. I was sure he was going to outbreak himself, and that was going to allow me to tuck back in and take that position. I don't know what I was thinking. I'll sleep on it and do better next time.
Well, enough focus on the negativity for now. We have to remember that you had a magnificent start to this race that launched you up into the lead, and you still finished with a podium. I mean, all in all, wouldn't you say that's a pretty good start to the season to at least kick things off with solid points?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great start to the season. Glad to be finding myself near the front. I'll do everything I can to stay there. And being at the lead, I got a taste of being in the lead there. So gotta maintain it next race. That's my, let's see what I can do next race.
Well, I have to say, while you were in the lead, you looked incredibly solid and unfazed for most of it. Congratulations on the third, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again at VIR.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Robert Lacroix here today, finishing third, and that's going to wrap us up. So make sure to join us again here tomorrow night on March 16th at 9:25 p.m. Eastern for the Pro Class. It's the top guys racing each other. We'd like to thank our sponsors for Series 10, which includes the Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma Sim Racing. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. Also, none of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Pete, and I'll see you on the track.